I'd love to introduce Noa Curtis. Noa is an outpatient oncology social worker at the Providence Cancer Center in Portland and holds an advanced certification in palliative care. Noa works with patients and their care partners from diagnosis through survivorship or until end of life. Noa provides individual and group support focused on holistic support of the individual. Noa's clinical focus is self-advocacy, meaning-making, and self-compassion. Outside of work, Noa enjoys exploring the Pacific Northwest, rivers, forests with friends and family. Noa, take it away.
Thank you so much. So I'll be talking today a little bit about survivorship and how folks make meaning during their cancer experience. So survivorship can mean many things. It's different for each person, and how each person thinks about their experience is unique. I'm hoping that this presentation can bring some awareness to how you're thinking about your cancer experience and maybe bring a little curiosity about how others might be thinking about their experience as well. So survivorship can mean many things. One way to look or think about survivorship is that it starts at diagnosis. The moment a person is diagnosed, they are a cancer survivor. Other folks might use this term if they have chronic cancer, or others might use this word at specific times during their cancer experience, say at the end of treatment, or if there's no evidence of disease. And some may never identify with this term. And if that is you, that is okay too. I'm hoping that you feel welcome in this presentation today, and that there's something here for you as well. So starting with a common place where we think of survivorship often is the end of treatment. Often folks think of treatment as maybe a marathon or a roller coaster, something with a very definite ending. And what you and others expect is a big yay. And what actually happens is all of the feelings. The end of treatment is often when people feel really big feelings. A tidal wave of emotions can come when you're through with the immediate stress of diagnosis and the hard work of treatment, and coming back to the daily routines of life and realizing that you and your relationships have been changed by this experience. People are often surprised that along with the yay or the relief of being done with treatment, that they find they're missing the encouragement of the team. There's a sense of now what? There's a loss of routine. You spent a lot of time getting used to the rhythm of treatment and appointments, and now that's changing again. Maybe missing the feeling of doing something about the cancer, or worried that the cancer is coming back. And this is all a normal part of the human experience. Anytime there is change, even positive change, we might experience loss. And grief is our natural response to loss. So then the work becomes, how do we honor both grief and gratitude? Often folks tend to feel like they can spend time only in one of these bubbles. So how do we allow ourselves to have gratitude for what's going well, and also give space to recognize how things have changed, and honor that loss and grief that might come with it? This might begin by attempting to give yourself permission to name your feelings as they arise, recognize how life has changed, learning about your new normal, and reconnecting with yourself and your body. You might still be dealing with very real physical symptoms, or feeling more distant from your sexual self, or be anticipating life changes to prevent a cancer reoccurrence. You might start and continue to connect with others, staying connected to your medical team, remembering that they are still available to you to ask questions and to navigate symptoms going forward. and finding ways to process your experience. This could be talking with a social worker or a counselor, maybe joining a support group, journaling, making art, prayer, talking to friends and loved ones. It looks really different for each person. One of the ways of processing your experience could be just taking a look about how you're making meaning of your situation. So I wanted to share this study out of Lancaster University called the Metaphor Menu for People Living with Cancer, where they interviewed cancer patients about how they make sense of their experience and looked at what language they use. And what I love about this menu is it shows that there's no right way to think about one's cancer diagnosis, but it also highlights that there are so many different ways to think about one's experience. It also brings to light how we might have conscious or unconscious ways of thinking about our experience. So my invitation to you as we go through a few of the examples from the menu is to try on each metaphor and just see how it fits. You might notice that you have really strong opinions about some of them, and all of that is welcome. We're just trying it on. And just a reminder that all of this is language from others who have a cancer diagnosis. So our first one, imagine it a bit like a scary fairground ride. It might be scary in places, but it will eventually stop and you can get off. Be strong, be brave, and we will be here to hold your hand if you need it. My journey with cancer may not be smooth, but it certainly makes me look up and notice the scenery. Some journeys with cancer will be longer and others short, but what matters most is how we walk that journey. I don't intend to give up. I don't intend to give in. No, I want to fight. I don't want it to beat me. I want to beat it. Having cancer is not a fight, but a relationship where I'm forced to live with my disease day in, day out. Some days cancer has the upper hand, other days I do. My way of dealing with my diagnosis is to bend with the wind. I compare life after cancer to walking with a stone in your shoe. If you let the stone rest right under the sole of your foot, it hurts every time you take a step, and it's hard to move forward. But if you can maneuver the stone to sit between your toes, it is still there, but you can walk the fine line of life without hurting. So you might already start to notice which metaphors from the menu seem familiar or not as familiar, and which ones you like best. And you also might start thinking about how each of these might impact how you feel about your cancer experience. So the roller coaster recognizes the ups and downs of cancer, talks about it being somewhat temporary in nature, and might contribute to that expectation that things are going back to normal after the ride. The journey, one of the main metaphors we use to talk about cancer, highlights the perseverance, multiple different struggles, no clear endpoint. Some find this too gentle, not recognizing the immediacy of effort that a cancer diagnosis requires. The fight, another very common metaphor, the battle or fight with cancer. Some people find this very motivating. It helps them find strength to do hard things. Others find that this suggests that either they win or the cancer does. And some find that what they're fighting for starts to change over time. Bend with the wind might feel passive or maybe even elusive to some, while others feel it depicts the flexibility to match the uncertainty that is inherent in a cancer diagnosis. And rock in the shoe shows the discomfort and constant impact of cancer. Might not be as useful at the beginning of a diagnosis. It might feel more relevant to someone after treatment or living with chronic cancer. So again, no option is right or wrong. They all have their uses to different people, all have strengths and weaknesses, and some might feel more relevant at different times. But all of these are an example of reframing. And when metaphors are working the best for us, they help us acknowledge the uncontrollable, focus on what's in our control, recognize our strengths, and use those strengths. So how can I use strengths in this situation to move in the most helpful direction for me? So as you continue to reflect about your life and your cancer experience, I hope you can use this metaphor menu as a tool to process, knowing that the metaphor might change over time. How was I thinking about cancer when I was first diagnosed versus how I'm making meaning of what's going on now? And maybe even a tool to use with your friends and family. We all have our own perspectives depending on what seat we're sitting in. So lastly, I encourage you to recognize your own milestones and honor them in a way that feels right to you. It might be something obvious like the end of treatment, or it might be more subtle things along the way. One of my favorite examples a patient shared with me, she said, I started feeling like I was in survivorship when I started being irritated by the little things again. And for her, that was a huge celebration. These slides will be shared after the presentation, and we have links here to direct you to more information about oncology social work and our support groups that we offer here. If this idea of reframing was interesting to you, it's one of the many tools that we teach in a group that we're currently offering called Mind Over Matter. It's a virtual skills-based group focused on learning tools to cope with big emotions. We offer it several times a year, and it's open to people who have cancer and also their care partners. I hope there was something in this presentation that invited you to reflect on how you're making meaning. And here is the link to the menu in case you'd like to look at it more in the future.